Hey there, it's Christine. You guys ready to draw some puffins with me? So today happens to be World Puffin Day, and I didn't really know about that until one of my followers on Facebook, Julia, reminded me. Now, she wanted to draw the auklet, which is related to puffins, but since we're doing World Puffin Day, and you're probably more familiar with puffins, we're going to draw some of those. So, in case you haven't met me, hi, I'm Christine, and I'm from Oregon. I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist. And I love drawing and painting and sketching with people to inspire you to conserve the natural world. And so, I'm going to show you some photos of some puffins, and then I'm going to switch my camera down here to my desk and we'll draw one together. So don't worry if you don't have any supplies. You may have just stumbled upon me here in the big World Wide Web. So sometimes it's actually helpful just to watch first and then draw later. So anyway, let me add this. There we go. So there are a few species of puffins, and we're actually going to draw this Atlantic puffin. Just a sec here. But the puffin that lives near me here in Oregon is the tufted puffin. And so they have cute little tufts on their head. And all puffins have a black and white body and this big clownish bill. So they're often called the clowns of the ocean and sometimes called the parrots of the ocean because of that big, wide bill. And so most of the year they are out in the open ocean. They're pelagic. They might remind you of a penguin, and they have a very similar lifestyle. They can swim through the water like penguins, and they're very agile underwater. Not so much in the air or on land, but very adept swimmers. And they hunt fish, mainly small schools of fish like anchovies or sand eels. And we're celebrating World Puffin Day right now because this is the season where they come to shore. So once a year around April, they come to shore for a few months. And that's when they get together in pairs and they do their courting and they do their mating and then lay their eggs and raise those chicks, usually on steep cliffs like we see here. And so in Oregon, where I live on the coast, they're found now I forgot the name of it, Sea Stack Rock. No, I forgot the name of it, but it's over on the central Oregon coast. But another reason I wanted to do puffins is partly because I've never drawn a puffin before. So you're going to see me drawing one live for the first time. But also because all of them are really threatened. So, for example, our tufted puffins here on the Oregon coast have declined 90% over the last 30 years. And the other puffin species are having a hard time too. A lot of it's climate change because the temperature of the water changes, and that changes the amount and the distribution of their prey. And of course, we're hunting a lot of their prey, the small fish. And it also warms the water and causes more storms. But they historically they were hunted, and many of them were almost hunted to extinction. People hunted them to eat their eggs, to eat their meat, and collected their feathers in the 17 and 18, 1900s. They collected their feathers for fancy hats for ladies. So anyway, they bounced back after that, but now they are affected by, again, climate change and fishing for the fish that they eat. So I'm just going to show you a few of these pictures, and then we're going to draw one together. So again, this is the tufted puffin that we have here on the Oregon coast here in the Pacific. There's also another species of puffin called the horned puffin. Isn't he cute? They're called horned puffins because they have this kind of horn shape that sticks up above their eye. And they have a different kind of bill, very bright and fancy yellow. And then we have the Atlantic puffin. And you can see in the picture on the left that this one is carrying a whole bunch of fish, generally those sand eels. And they're going to hunt for those fish during breeding season, like right now, to bring to their chicks. And so you see how they have a black and white body, they have those bright yellow legs, and the feet are webbed. So a lot like a duck, because again, they spend a lot of their time in the water swimming. So we are going to draw this one because the rest of the body is black and kind of boring, but it's more fun to draw a face. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to set up my my camera here. And so I'm going to make that a bit bigger in a second. But anyway, before we start drawing, it always helps to really look at something super closely so you really understand the proportions and then, of course, the color patterns too. So during the breeding season, all the puffins have a really bright bill. And they actually shed that outer part of their bill during the non-breeding season. And so that bright bill here in the Atlantic puffin has some yellows and oranges. So we've got some colored pencils here. They've got yellows and oranges and reds and little gray. And then they have a yellow part to the mouth. And then they've got the white head. And they've got a black body with a white chest. So that's what helps you to differentiate them from our puffin here, the tufted puffin. And then they have this eye that has a big red circle around it. And then they have these little designs through their eye. So a little triangle above their eye and a little bar down below their eye and going above where their ear is. We forget that birds have ears, but they actually have an ear opening kind of below the eye and behind it. And then you see most of the face and the cheek is white, and then the rest of the body is black. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to put, unfortunately, I don't know how to get rid of my face here unless I make this all the way big. And then you can't see the puffin. So we're going to kind of switch back and forth between looking at the puffin really big and looking at my drawing page. How does that sound? So yeah, thanks for joining me live and for the thumbs ups. Again, I haven't been on here much lately. I've been busy moving into a new art studio and doing that kind of artwork. And pretty soon I'll be able to go live a lot more frequently and have better lights and sound. So anyway, so what I'm going to start with is a pencil, just basically one of these cheap mechanical pencils. But sometimes when I'm drawing my first lines, I will use a gray colored pencil. And that just gives a really light line. But I want you to be able to see my lines. So I'm going to do this pencil. And then I'm going to have a few of these other colored pencils. And there's lots of different kinds of colored pencils, lots of different brands and softnesses. But our puffin, as you see, is red and orange and yellow and gray and white. But even inside of the white cheek, you see some parts that are a little bit more gray or brownish white. And then the top of the head and the neck that we see is black. And so I've got an arrangement of these colors here. Okie dokie. So again, say hi in the chat box if you want to. I see a few people have. And so I'm going to get started here. So let's see. So what I'm going to do is I start light and loose, and I try not to really do much erasing, especially in the early stages. In fact, I don't even have much of an eraser on this pencil. And so I'm going to start kind of with we're going to make them pretty big. actually. So this is a paper that's about size 8.5 by 11 or so. And I'm going to start with a kind of an oval. So I'm going to start kind of light. Tell me if you can see that. Again, I'll switch back and forth between looking at the photo and looking at my drawing here. So I've got sort of an oval for the head, and that's going to come down to the neck area. And then it's going to come down to the front of the neck. And then I'm going to see where the opening of the bill is, kind of like that. And then you see how big the bill is, and it's actually open. So let me kind of darken up this part here. So again, I'm not doing any erasing, okay? Because otherwise we'd be here all day. And plus, I like to draw as if I'm in the field, so you don't have a lot of time to erase. So anyway, the front of the head there with the base, the bill kind of goes like this, and then there's sort of this open area, and then the bottom of the bill, and then kind of like this. So I will just keep moving my pencil and making the lines a little bit closer and better as we go. So yeah, tell me in the chat box if you can see these lines. Then we've got a really big bill. You see how big that bill is, and it's open. I'm not used to having people looking at my face while I'm drawing, but it just happens. Usually I have a photocopy of my photo, but this time it's just online here. So you got to just go with it. Okay. So that's sort of the triangle of the bill, and just notice how big it is. Again, it's kind of like a parrot, though they're not related. And they have a lot of the same lifestyle as a penguin, but they're not really related to them either. So that's the upper bill. And there's also going to be this other shape here at the base of the bill. And then that kind of continues on to this sort of orange part where the gape is. It's kind of wrinkled. Okie dokie. And then we're going to get the lower bill. And you can see with the lower bill, you can see a little bit of the close part. And it's about like this. And you see how often I'm looking back and forth at my reference photo. And so to make sure that I'm actually drawing from life. And so you see, I'm just looking back and forth and kind of getting it a little bit more, the shapes a little bit more correct as I go. And then we see the back of that lower bill too. And so that kind of goes like that. Okie dokie. Let's see. So we got a few viewers here. How you doing? I'm going to make that bigger for a moment now. Okie dokie. So, yeah. So that'll kind of force you to follow along with mine more. But yeah, I'm actually looking at the other photo on my other monitor. Okay. And so I'm just back and forth again, kind of fixing. Let's see, that white chest is going to kind of start going here. So our tufted puffin is all black, but the Atlantic puffin has this white chest area here. Alrighty, so I'm going to come back to, let's see, how do I do it? That one, so you can see him again. So now I want to go to this cheek. Let's draw the white part first, and that sort of starts here and comes down and almost touches. Let's see, it's kind of this way. Almost touches the back of the neck there. And then it wraps around the base here. I am going to do a little erasing in a minute, but I just want to get all the basic parts. All righty. And then we want the eye, the all important eye. And so usually you just want to notice kind of how far back it is from the bill. And it's a kind of about this height here. So I'll kind of go a little bit here and then noticing where it is on the top of the head, kind of down from here. And then looking at about how big it is. It's about as big as the opening to the mouth here. So, once you start getting most of the pieces, most of the parts, you're gonna just notice if you've got your proportions correct. I think I think that's close, maybe a little bit bigger. Well, it looks bigger because it's got that red. So it's got a red circle around it. Um, and then actually it's not a complete circle. It's a little bit flatter here. And then you have this little, a tiny little horn, kind of like the horned puffin. And then a dark part down here. And then it kind of goes down here. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to finally do some erasing. Let's make this big again. So once I have sort of everything in place, let's see, I think I want to make this eye a little bigger. Oh yeah, I forgot to add the orange. Oh wait, it's kind of going to be here. Okay, so now is when I would start to do a little erasing. And I actually have this other thing that is shaped like a pencil, but it's actually an eraser. And so I'm going to just lighten some of these lines and just leave the ones that I kind of really thought were the most correct. And also, because if you're going to add colored pencil, you don't want too much graphite because they don't really play well together. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of lightening everything and just getting rid of some of the tri lines that don't really fit. So don't be afraid to say hi in the chat box. I can see the chat box, at least here on StreamYard, which is my live streaming app. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, you're again noticing just how huge that bill is. And yeah, kind of looking back and forth. I mean, I might make it is very parrot-like. I think I'm going to make it a little bit longer. So you can always fix things. I just like to get my proportions a little closer. And yeah, I just think that maybe there was a little bit more. Oh yeah, actually, I do see this other shape that you probably can't see, but it's the far side of the bill. And it kind of comes down like that. Okie dokie. So yeah, I know we're not going to have very many live viewers because I wasn't able to schedule this until this afternoon. So replay viewers can still comment and say hi. All righty. So again, I'll go back and forth here. But I really want you to be able to see the reference photo mostly. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, and so now I would start adding some color. Now this is pretty large. It would take me a really long time to add all of these colors. But we're going to just try to do some here, especially some of the more fun ones. And so, we can start with the bill. And so I usually like to start with my lighter colors and kind of make layers. So the lightest color is sort of this yellow. And so, for example, we have a really pale whitish yellow here. And then we've got some yellow here. And again, I'm going to just do some layering and yellow on this very interesting wrinkly skin here. Okay. And then I've got kind of some lighter areas up top here. And then I'm going to add some orange and some red. Um, yeah, this is a really complicated bill. And there's got some grooves in it, you see, too. There's actually grooves. And this looks like a big old fat bill, like a parrot. But if you were to look at this sideways, like you might have remembered in the photo I had of it holding the fish, um, the bill is actually quite narrow. So I'll hold it on the side and I will just get a first layer down. Because again, colored pencil actually takes a really long time. And most of the time when I'm out in the field, I'm actually using watercolors. I feel like those are just a little bit better for me in the field. And I do a lot of traveling and sketching birds in the field and various places, including the puffins. I've actually seen the puffins on our coast here and sketched them, as well as the puffins up in Alaska. I've never seen this species, the Atlantic puffin, in real life at least. So anyway, I just get a first layer everywhere and then I add some more layers. So the next part is we have this kind of grayish part. And so yeah, it takes a while to get colored pencils to look realistic. And the best way to do that is through subtle layering. So it kind of starts out looking sort of like just a little kid's coloring. But it does take a while to build up those colors. Because it really looks more realistic if you can kind of layer some colors that look similar to each other. I want to get this eye too. I always feel like if I can get the eye, I'm going to just make this, that I feel like he's coming alive. And it looks a little bit more red to me, so I'll add a little bit more there. And this eye looks really dark, but I'm not just going to add black. I might start with a layer of gray. It does have a pupil, so you can't see that very well yet, but maybe I'll start with a layer of gray, maybe add a little bit of brown. And a little bit of black, or this is a bluish. It's really easy to go overboard with using black. So I try to be really careful. Here I'm adding some black. And then there's actually a highlight. And then there's the pupil. But the upper part of the eye is a little bit lighter. Anyway, I feel like if I can get that eye in there, that it looks, he's a little bit waking up. And maybe I can get his little part that looks like a horn, although this isn't the horn, like that. Anyway, okay, so then let's see, where am I here? So that's what I have so far. So then we want to add some more layers, getting it more realistic. And so I'm just going to start darkening. But yeah, I'm going to add some different layers. So like the tip of the bill, I see a little bit of brown here, and there's kind of these ridges on the bill and some more ridges. And then, we do have the top of the bill is a little bit highlighted, so I'll leave that, but I'm gonna deepen this orange and add it a little bit more red. And you can see the base here is a little bit more shadowed. So I just like to slowly add layers. It's a yeah, I do feel a little, self-conscious that you can see me. It's harder for me to focus. And yeah, so and then it's actually shadowed a bit. I could even add some of this purplish at the base here. Um, and then, yeah, I could just keep getting a little bit bolder. So you wanna just start really lightly and not pushing down on the colored pencils, because once you fill up all the the grain of the paper, you won't be able to get any more pigment on there. So, yeah, just kinda continuing to work on it, and then, this gray, I need to get that a lot darker, but I don't wanna just take gray. Again, I'm just gonna do a really light version here, and then maybe add some of this indigo. So I'm not gonna go straight in with a gray or a black. I like to layer it. Maybe a little bit of black. But the more you layer things really softly, the more you can kinda see the various colors underneath. Oh, Julia, hi, you're here. Great. Julia's the one that suggested doing Puffin Day. And oh, is it World Dolphin Day today too? I've definitely done sketching classes on World Dolphin Day, but never on Puffin Day. So I'm glad I'm here to do that. So yeah, again, you can just see that I'm slowly adding some layers. And yeah, and so and usually, if I was gonna do a final colored pencil drawing, I wouldn't let this much graphite show through, but I just wanted to leave that there so you could see my outline. Anyway, just trying to get bolder. And so, I'll start to be pushing down more. I generally work pretty casually, kind of demonstrating how I would sketch in the field because I am trained as a professional scientific illustrator and I can do things really detailed if I want. But I really love just inspiring people to be able to draw, without a ton of training. And it really just takes observation, careful observation. And time. Um, so, like I said, color pencils take a long time. So we're not just gonna get part of the way through. And yeah, this yellow, I'm gonna make it a little bit more subtly orangish. And then again, go in some more with this gray part of the bill. And I like people to focus not so much on what you end up with on the paper, but what you've learned through the process of looking at something long enough to draw it. That's where that's where you're really winning. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep going with this. And I'm just, yeah, layering colors like blue and purple and gray and black. And it kind of ends up looking a little bit like stained glass. You know how if you had a piece of yellow glass and then you put a piece of red glass over it, it would kind of look a little bit gray. I mean, sorry, I'm drawing gray, a little bit orange. Yeah, and I see a little bit of a shadow. I see a warm brownish shadow kind of at the base of this part. I don't know what this part is called. So you can just see again, I'm just doing layers and layers. And I'll try to actually do the whole bird before I finish any one part. So I think I might add a little bit more to the face now. So we do have technically a white face. We would call that the local color is white. But, it's not stark white. There are some highlights and shadows. So on the top part of the face here, it's really bright white because this is a rounded cheek. And so you can see down here that cheek is a little bit in the shadow. Oh yeah, I forgot that there is this sort of um, part here that's kind of a warm brown. And maybe I'll layer that with some gray. So a lot of times when I'm in the field, I'm not going to try to make a perfect biological illustration. I'm mainly trying to see where the field marks are. So, if you were at a place like a zoo where you saw both Atlantic and horned and tufted puffins, and trying to sketch those at the zoo, which I love to do sketching at the zoo, then you would really focus on just the color patterns that are different among those three species and not necessarily trying to get it perfect. But anyway, back to this cheek, you see there's some shadow back here and back here because this cheek is rounded. It's not just flat like this piece of paper. So for us to get that idea of it being rounded, I'm just going to add some shadow here. And yeah, it's this is a really big drawing for being able to finish something while we're here together in colored pencil. That's why I often do a demo in watercolors, but not as many people have watercolors easily accessible. And you see, actually, there's a little lighter area at the base of the cheek because it's this part of the cheek that's puffed out. And then this part down here gets a little bit flatter. And so, yeah, when you have a white part on a bird or, a zebra or whatever you're drawing, don't necessarily just leave it the white of the paper. Okay. And so, yeah, we're trying to make this cheek a little bit more round by shadowing the back side of the cheek behind the eye. And I'm just using the side of my pencil. And, you could always soften it a bit too, or have a lighter gray. This is a lighter gray. Another reason I don't use colored pencils in the field is it's easy to lose them in the grass or to break them or have to sharpen them. Yeah, so anyway, back to this one. I really want you to keep looking at the real bird. Now, I think I really want to make the eye a little bit better. The eye is the window to the soul. And the lower part of the eye is going to be darker because the upper part is rounded, just like the cheek. The cheek is rounded, and so is the individual eye. And again, I might use like this indigo blue, not just go in there with black. And, you're not going to be able to see these subtle things here so much. Yeah, they have got this really interesting part. Now, a lot of birds, like especially in the tropics that have lots of reds and yellows and oranges in their body, it's from what they eat. And so it's similar to the puffins. The puffins eat a lot of zooplankton, which has a lot of the carotenoids and also small fish. And those get in the feathers and such. All righty, so let me see, and then, yeah, trying to get this. Yeah, you can't see so much, but I am just choosing different pencils, each time, um, like, I'm switching back to this bluish pencil and just going really, really soft, hardly pressing at all. 'Cause I wanna be able to have these layers show through, and it does look like this lower, colored part below the eye is a little bit darker, so maybe I'll just go in more. What do I have here? Oh, this is my black. Okay. Tell me if you're following along or if you're just watching. Again, I know we don't have a whole lot of people live because I just wasn't able to start this till pretty late. Um, okay. Now, so anyway, I already kind of demonstrated the bill. I'm not going to do the lower bill right now. I want to do some more of the black on the body. Now, again, I'm not just going to come in with a black pencil and just, you know, like that all over the place, right? I want to do some layering. So, like the top of the head here, it's very light. So, I'm just going to use this light gray. The feathers are technically black, but they're super oily and shiny. And so they're reflecting a lot of the light, and I could just shade this whole part. Is this, oh, this is what is this? This is kind of a grayish, anyway. I'm not going to do the whole thing because the black does take a while, but just starting with that light part up here. And then again, I can use some of this indigo. I can use black, but I generally add the black at the end. I've got this other kind of purpley, warm gray. And I could add that because it's easy just to go overboard with the black. So this is kind of a brownish gray. And then going in with the black. But again, I'm not going to push really hard like with I did here. Spirit priestess, hello, hi. And so I'm just going to go on the side and just be really subtle about it. And then get more layers, kind of as we go. And we have some highlights kind of on the front. So I'm not going to get that as dark. Again, this black can take a really long time. So you can see the light is coming from this way because there's a really big highlight on the top of the bill and on the front. But as it goes back here, it's in shade. And so I'm going to just start pushing harder. And you see down here, there's a bit of the white belly. So we're just going to leave that for now. All right. So again, just kind of going slowly in layers and not not going crazy with it. And yeah, I want to just show you. Let me see, where was I? Yeah, here's another picture. The more pictures you can look at, the better. Or if you're at a zoo or in the wild, the more you can look at an animal from all different angles, the more you'll understand its biology and its anatomy and how to draw it and how the light falls on it. So with this one, wait, can you see my pointer? When this guy's looking straight at us, you see how narrow that bill is. But they have this really strong bill that can hold all of those sand eels at once and bring them back to the chicks. And then you can just also notice if you look at different animals in different light that they're going to look different, their coloration. So in some, if it's shady or cloudy, like it's probably going to be in Iceland, most of these birds in this species nest only in Iceland, millions of them. So it might be a cloudy day, so their colors are going to look a little bit more drab than if it was a really sunny day. So let me go back to that one. Okie doke. Oh, how did I get down at the bottom? That's interesting. Interesting. Okay, so please tell me if you have any questions. I don't like to go any farther than an hour, so I'm just going to keep working on this a bit and just getting bolder with my colors. And yeah, so don't going on the bill again. I guess I could work on this lower bill a bit more. So we've kind of got this orange part. You can actually see a little bit of its tongue. It's easy to forget that birds actually do have a tongue, and it's kind of right there. And it's a little bit brighter orange, it looks like. And the back of the bill is a little bit of more of a dull orange. Let's see, how could I soften that up? Maybe add some gray to it here. It's not as obvious. So that orange is in shadow. Now maybe some more of it. Oh, I don't know if you can really see that. So anyway, that is the tongue. Okay. And then the rest of the bill, let's see. I got this lower bill way too fat, I noticed. The more I look at it, the more it looks way too fat. So that's okay. So anyway, I'll add some yellow here. And some more orange. But also just with the upper bill, we notice that there's it's curved a bit. And again, don't worry if you've got your proportions a bit off like I do. Don't worry about it. Just keep working on it. And the more you draw, the more you can draw next time a little bit more accurately. I'm going to add this brown for more of the shadows on the lower bill here. So again, I really like to have people focus on what they're learning and, appreciating about the shape of the animal, and not judging yourself too hard if your proportions are off, or even your colors. It's a process. Well, let's see. I think I'll stick with this brown because there's a lot of brown in this lower bill. It looks like a slightly different color than this bill, the upper bill. It's still pretty dark, but colored pencils are nice because you can You can modify them. So, I've got a lot of brown in there, but I can add a layer of black. Oh, that's my indigo blue. Well, I could add a little bit of that, although it does seem like a warmer blackish than the one on top. Um, so yeah, I've got way too many colors. I got a whole box of colors that I could keep adding to. So yeah, the reason I love to draw with people is, gives you a chance to look at something a lot more deeply than if you were just like, taking a cell phone picture of it. You really appreciate it. Okay. So let's see, what are we doing here? So that's still we're just working on it. It's getting there. Um, I think I'd like to just try to finish at least one part here. So you see my thinking. So I think I'll just work on this upper bill a bit more. And yeah, I do see that, we have I'm pushing harder now. But again, there'll be a certain point with colored pencils that you just can't add anymore because you've filled up all of the grooves in the paper. So that's why I like to try to get these layers first. I think I'll add a little bit more shadow here in the lower part of the bill. Yeah, I feel kind of self-conscious that you can see me drawing. Because again, usually I have this photo printed out, and so it's on my live paper here. So I don't have to be showing my face. For some reason, this live streaming app, you can't get rid of my face. Yeah, and when you see a color, when little kids see colors, they just say, "Oh, that's yellow," or "That's orange," or "That's red," or "black." But as you become, more of an observer of nature, and, getting really familiar with your materials too, the more you'll be able to see the subtle coloration. So, like this top of the bill, a lot of people would say, "Oh, this is just black." But again, it's got some layers to it. There's warm versions of colors, there's cool versions, there's sort of muted versions, and lots of times your colors are going to be a bit muted. So, like, yeah, again, like I just might go back in and layer some more of this with this brown. And I'm starting to feel, I can tell that my paper is starting to get all the way full of pigment. So I don't have that much more ability to modify it. Yeah, and yeah, I still want to get, and I guess it is instructive for you to see how often I'm raising my head and looking at my reference because it is really important, if you want to draw something, um, and you're really drawing from real life, then you're going to be constantly checking to see that you're drawing what you're seeing and not drawing from imagination. So you see how that's getting a little closer. And so, that's a lot more developed in this one. And so, yeah. Okay. There's even a highlight. Unfortunately, with colored pencils, once you draw, fill it in, you can't get it back. But I do see this really subtle white highlight right here at the edge of this black. And, I think that might be the part that falls off. Remember earlier I said in the breeding season, they develop these really fancy, colorful bills, but part of it, the outer shell of it falls off, dur for, just during the non-breeding season when they're out in the open ocean. So I don't know, maybe that's sort of the ledge there, but that's a bright highlight that I should have left. Okay, let's see, and I can add a little bit more yellow here. But yeah, don't be hard on yourself because, like, for me, it is hard to draw and try to talk and teach at the same time because you're in, sort of both your right and your left brains. I see there's kind of some wrinkling in this part. I don't know what this is called. I forgot, but it's this fleshy part, and there's sort of these wrinkles, look like worms a little bit in there. Okay, so we still have a few live viewers. That's good. A little bit more shadows. Okay. And yeah, there's no right or wrong way, to draw or to layer. Some people go a lot, you know, slowly, sort of like I do. Uh, Definitely need to get that pushed back so that I see a differentiation. There we go. So now we see a differentiation between that orange tongue and the shadow of the inside of the bill. That's looking a little bit more realistic, slowly but surely. So there, that's getting a little bit better, isn't it? So yeah, you see how much developed this is compared to this. Again, it takes a while. Yeah. And so where are we here? Yeah, it's getting there. Getting there definitely. But yeah, you still see a lot of the white paper underneath. Again, you just gotta go in layers, until you can't go in any layers anymore, until it, is filled up. All the tooth of the paper is filled up. So, yeah, there is a shadow, and, I still wanna add some, like, purple or something. Yeah, there's my indigo. Really wanna feel like there's a little bit more shadows. I know it's hard because my mind and your mind is saying, "Oh, that's a red bill." I'm not gonna be adding, purple to it, but it really helps, especially if you had an extra piece of paper. Where did my paper go? Um, and you can, like, if I put that here, you can kinda see maybe how there's lighter and darker areas. So, yeah, there's the concept of local color, which is basically like we've got this red bill. But then there's the idea of, highlights and shadows. And so you got to not be afraid to add those in. And again, I can use, this purplish, I can use some brown, and I'm just shadowing this. Yeah, and so I just tend to keep going over things and slowly modifying them. 'Cause then I also feel a little bit more safe. I'm losing my voice a little bit. I don't know why. I'm used to talking a lot. Okay, let's see. We've almost gone an hour. So if you have any questions, especially if you're watching the replay, go ahead and put them in. And I think especially, yeah, especially if you're on Facebook or YouTube, I can reply to those questions later on, I think, not just in the real life here. But yeah, and just one last little thing. Of course, like again, this is not done. It needs a lot of shadowing on the cheek, and of course the rest of the black. And we could get a lot more bold with this black. And I'm just gonna actually add some blue here. So I don't go in hard with the real dark black until I've layered some other, made sure that I've been able to layer some other colors in here. Yeah, so yeah, not until I've really layered in some colors. So yeah, anyway, it's World Puffin Day, and it's the time to celebrate and value these birds. A lot of people, you might never see them. I've been lucky to see them in Oregon and Alaska, but you might see one at a zoo or aquarium. But so it's easy just to think that things like this aren't real if you don't really see them out in nature, but they are having a hard time in nature. They were poached heavily, and some are still hunted in certain areas, like the Faroe Islands. But they were hunted for their meat and their eggs and their feathers. So now they're more affected with climate change, with the storms getting heavier. Like we all know that, weather is getting crazier on land, and that's hard on them. And their food, their prey, the fish they eat, are getting more rare because they're also having a hard time with climate change and being hunted. We fishermen hunt a lot of these small fish to be used for like fish meal and cat food. And so anyway, so it's good to just appreciate animals like this. I noticed that the eye is a little bit wider and the red part is a little bit narrower. Yeah, I like to really make sure that I've given some expression to that eye. And yeah, given quite a bit of time. Because if you can get the eye are windows of the soul. Yeah, that's looking a little bit better there. So you see, yeah, that eye's looking better. And this part. Okay. All right. So again, mostly the eye is done, and mostly this upper bill. So you can see how long this takes. And so I'm not going to finish it today, obviously, but hopefully you will keep working on yours. If you want to take a screenshot of the puffin, oops. And of course, there's lots of pictures of Atlantic puffins on the web. But yeah, you can just keep on working on this, but just noticing that it definitely does take some time if you're using colored pencils. Okay, well, that's about it. Let me see, where am I? I never know. There we go. So that's about it for our demonstration. We've gone for an hour. I hope you've learned a little bit about puffins, the tufted puffin, Atlantic puffin, and the horned puffin. And you'll be inspired to go and learn some more about them and why they're endangered and where they live and how you might see one at an aquarium or zoo near you if you can't see them in the field. And I hope I gave you some ideas for drawing and adding color. So I'd love to see your drawings if you're finished, or if you have any other questions or comments, put them in the chat box and I'll get back to you later. Oh, hi, Rita. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad you loved it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Like I said, this was an idea from one of my viewers, Julia, on Facebook. So if you have ideas for plants or animals that you'd like me to draw, I keep this content calendar of all the days, the animal days of the year. So, for example, in May, we've got World Tuna Day, and a lot of tuna species, like the bluefin tuna, are endangered. Is Bee Day, Turtle Day, Parrot Day, Leopard Day, of course, Migratory Bird Day. So, a lot of stuff happening in May. Otter Day, Whooping Crane and Flamingo Day. So I've sketched a lot of those guys with you already through these years since the beginning of the pandemic. So I usually like to draw something I haven't drawn before, like puffins. So I want to thank Julia for giving me that idea. And yeah, if you want to learn more about me, you can just go to my profile in Facebook or Instagram or YouTube and see my links to my website and other resources. Okay, well, I got to get going. It's time for dinner. Have a wonderful evening and take care. Bye-bye.